more nostalgia stuff from the 90s are making a... I wouldn't use the term comeback. I would say they're getting released again. These little Tamagotchi virtual pet thingamajigs that I want to say in the States at least they predated Pokemon, and then Pokemon came and it was just like what? That's pretty much what happened here. So it has been 20 years for the 20th anniversary. What's the company that makes them? Is it...
Tamagotchi. No?
No. There's an actual...
Bandai.
It is Bandai. Okay, I'm like... Bandai, really? They're a game developer, but I guess this is technically a game.
Yeah.
They are re-releasing a limited edition, no less, version of the Tamagotchi that will have a 60% smaller body than the original. And the originals were only about this big as it was. And a 40% smaller screen. So...
It's not even what I'm shaking my head about.
What are you shaking your head about?
You know how much they're going to cost?
$15.
$15 for what is essentially just 3 or 4 M&Ms.
Well,
just if you were to buy 3 M&Ms glued together, that'd probably make the size of like a Tamagotchi. Granted, it is technology, and you know
how. But and what I want to know is how much were they back in the 90s? Were they like $20 or something like that?
I don't think so.
You think they were more or less?
I think they were less. I got a Tamagotchi from a stuffed animal. I purchased like a stuffed animal of like a dog, and I got a Tamagotchi with it. So they couldn't have been that expensive.
Yeah. So I grew up with one too. My egg was like a black and orange one, and then I think my sister had a white and red one. And the different Tamagotchi that they would grow up into were different on hers. And I always got the same one because I think I do have slight obsessive compulsive disorder, so I always like fed mine on time. I would always like clean up the poo. I would always, play with it when it wanted to be played with. I would discipline it when it didn't want anything but still wanted my attention. Now what are you laughing at?
I was trying to look up the price of how much Tamagotchis were back then.
Uh-huh.
And I put in, what was the price of Tamagotchi in... The first thing they tried to complete was an early pregnancy.
Wow.
What?
And AI is supposed to take over the world one day. Okay, all right. I believe you. Sure it is.
Early 2000s, please, not pregnancy. Oh, man.
So how much?
Looking it up. Gotta go to Wikipedia. Look like anything else has it. Doesn't actually say. It says how many were sold, which was 76 million Tamagotchis, which is amazing.
Yeah. They probably would have kept making them too if it weren't for Pokemon.
Oh, you know what? It also has the translation of Tamagotchi, which is just egg watch.
Yeah, that's really exciting. But mine always grew up to be the same exact looking thing, and I think what determines how it grows up to, of course, if you're not familiar with Tamagotchi, it's very similar to Pokemon, except it doesn't battle. You just get an egg, and I think it takes like 5 to 10 minutes to hatch. You get a little baby. It's nothing really more than a little dot with eyes and a mouth. You feed it. You play with it when it wants attention. You clean up its poo. You put it to bed at night. You discipline it for some reason if it wanted your attention but didn't actually needed anything. Like, you'd yell at it, and that would also increase its like affinity for you. The games, there were 2 games depending on which Tamagotchi you got. I always liked my sister's Tamagotchi game because it did the whole. It would give you a number between 1 and 10, and then you had to guess what other number it was thinking of, whether it was greater than or less than. Obviously, that's easier. If it's a 7, guess less than, because there's a greater chance it'll be less than. My version had, which direction is he going to face, left or right?
Oh.
And I was like, it's 50-50 every single time. Like, how am I supposed to know? So, yeah, definitely liked hers better, but I liked the way the Tamagotchi looked better on mine. And it always got the same one. It kind of had like little mouse ears that were kind of like half mouse ears when it finally grew up. And I think it would go through like 4 different stages. And by the 3rd stage, you can kind of see what it was going to turn into. And then the 4th one. But there was like maybe like half a dozen different forms you could get. And it all depended on how well you took care of it. If you really didn't take care of it, it would die on you.
Yeah, it was like a 2-year-old's adaptation of Digimon. Except Digimon didn't exist back then.
Right.
I really hope Digimon got its inspiration from Tamagotchi.
How long did you get yours to live for?
Can't exactly remember. I know that I had mine for what I believe was close to a year. And I had... No, you know what? I had several. Because for some reason, I just, like, fell in love with them.
Like several different...
Yep.
Devices.
Yep.
Huh.
And I think one day my mom took them all away from me. Because I think I think I really wanted a pet back then, but I couldn't have one. So my mom got me a Tamagotchi, hoping that would silence me. And in reality, it just, opened my eyes to, oh my goodness, this is like 10 times better than having a normal pet, because what it does in the game, like, there's no consequences.
Right.
So, which, that might be why I like Pokemon so much, because I just kept getting them.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's very similar. You just battle with Pokemon, your Pokemon don't die on you.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it normally took about 2 weeks to get one to the adult stage. By week 3, so yeah, mine I got up to last for about a month. I usually got up to like day 28 or 29. By at the start of that 3rd week though, that thing got annoying. Like, it would start to need to eat or have its poop washed away or played with like every 30 minutes during the day. And I would always go through the same process of, I would get tired of it being so needy and I would just let it die. I would get really far with it, and then I'm like, you know what, this is like not worth it. I would just let it die. And I never exceeded a month. I don't believe I did. Matt, do you think that these will be successful being re-released in 2017 with a much smaller screen?
Probably not. Because I don't think that kids nowadays have a long enough attention span to handle something like this. Nor do I think they want to. Because, I mean, there was that video of, like, those kids, like, looking at a Game Boy for the first time ever. And they were just like, this is basically just a worse version of my phone. I'd much rather just play on my phone. It's like, would you? Because that was a phone. That was our version of entertainment.
Right.
Why don't you be thankful for what you have?
The only phones that we had, the coolest phones that we had growing up were cordless home phones that you could actually walk around the house with.
Back in the 90s, it was the flip phone. It was like, bam.
Well, when you're talking about cell phones, yeah. the Razor came out and just like was like, hey, tired of that stupid dinosaur Nokia thing that could not be destroyed? Well, how about a Razor? And I was like, oh, Razor. Yeah, I don't think this is going to do well either, just because the world we live in, this is a technology-driven world. Something like this from 20 years ago, it speaks a lot to Pokemon, because Pokemon, for the most part, really hasn't even dropped in popularity the last 20 years. It's still as popular as it ever has been. So that's lasted for 20 years, and this was a craze for maybe a year or two. I don't even want to say 2 years. Probably just 1 year, and then Pokemon came out and wiped it away. But I think in a world where Pokemon is this juggernaut, there's not going to be any room for Tamagotchi. And I want to say even the I call them the knockoffs, because they all were the Gigapets, the littlest pet shop ones. I think there's this one called a Virtual Pet or Virtua Pet or something like that. I think they tried to make comebacks about 10 years ago or so, and no one wanted them. You say Tamagotchi today, and hardly anyone remembers them, unless you had one. And it was just a very short-lived craze that it's a good thing that they're doing a limited edition of these, because I don't think they're going to sell much at all. I don't think kids are going to get these, and the adults that get them are just going to collect them for nostalgia's sake. But probably not use them at all. Just keep them in the package and be like, that's cool, I got one. Put it on a shelf somewhere. If they're even that.
For $16 too.
Yeah, they're
like,
well, $14.99. So, and I don't even remember how much they were when I was a kid. $12 keeps popping into my head for some reason, and maybe adjusted for inflation, I would say $15 is probably a little bit less than that.
I saw maybe one of them said like $5.99 or $6.99. That might just be what they're going for now, or
yeah,
it may have been what they were going for back then.
Because you can still get them to work. It's not like that they just use watch batteries. So it's an interesting choice, I will say that.